Hey Pussy Buddies, we're back and we are speed puzzling today. I need something quick after last week's video, so we're speed puzzling. This one is called Teal Lake. It's from Big Ben, which is like a Milton Bradley sub company or something. This is the image. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not feeling super confident about it just because it's a lot of like grayish, bluish, tealish. There's like some greens and oranges in like the plants and then the buildings. So I'm hoping that that helps me out, but we'll see. I'm also hoping that all of the pieces are in here. I got this one from Goodwill quite a while ago and I've never opened it, so we're in for a surprise as far as what's inside the box, but let's see. Voice over me here. Hello. Yeah, you've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail. You also saw how bright-eyed and bushy-tailed I was at the beginning of this. Okay, I fully intended to just do a cute, quick little speed puzzle. I had my playlist going, everything. That did not happen. And if you need to see like a completed image at the end of this puzzle, at the end of the video, I'm letting you know right now that that does not happen. Okay, so we can set our expectations. Moving on. So I was planning on trying out a new method of like doing a full flip, but putting the inside pieces back in the box to give myself some working space, and then working on the edges. That was my plan, and it's essentially what I did. But immediately I realized that this was a very cheap puzzle, and I don't mean that in like a I'm fine with an inexpensive puzzle, but this one was cheap. It felt like I was puzzling with potato chips, and also the fit was very loose, and the image was like grainy, so those like darker sections, they don't look that dark in the picture, but in the pieces they're very dark and kind of grainy, so it's hard to see, and the fit was loose. In fact, at one point a gnat flew by the table and just blew off half the pieces. Okay, that's what it felt like. Also on the box, that like middle portion at the top is like a sunset or a sunrise. So it's like pinkish, yellowish, a little bit bluey, but on the pieces, it's just white. Like it's just pure white pieces. Even as I was sorting and flipping the pieces at the beginning, it was just a bunch of white pieces. Like there was no gradient. It was just white. Like I don't know what was going on between the print of the box and the print of the pieces, but something was not right. And I just was not enjoying it. It's 20 something minutes in and I still haven't even finished the border. Like that's crazy. And I didn't want to stop this just because it was taking me a long time. You know, I didn't want to just like give up in that sense. However, I was not enjoying this. The puzzle was not coming together well. It felt crazy. I just called it quits. But I still wanted to puzzle, and I still wanted to puzzle so that I could have something to post for you guys. And it just so happened that a few days before this, my mom had gone to Goodwill and she found me a couple puzzles, and this was one of them. So I pulled this one out. I know it's not necessarily a great image for speed puzzling, but I still figured why not? It's 500 pieces, and I opened it, and it turns out the box was still sealed. Like the pieces were still in the bag. So I was like, okay, they should all be there. You know, it'll be fun. My goal was like a 2.5 hours because I knew there was a lot of pink, a lot of green. It wasn't necessarily, you know, meant for speed puzzling, but I figured I'd give it a try. I went ahead and did like a similar method to what I was doing with the first puzzle. I still wanted to like flip all the pieces, but leave them in the lid of the box or the bottom of the box, either way. But since this one had an actual poster, I could use both the bottom and the top. And then I was working on the border. And the border wasn't too bad because there are some different patterns within the pinks. It was kind of, you know, I was able to like separate them out, I should say. But I still wasn't having like a particularly fast time. I was sleepy, you know, it just was what it was. But yeah, I was still going, still trying. The pieces were pretty glossy. You can even see the pieces inside of the box off to like the bottom right of the screen. They're pretty shiny, which wasn't too terrible, but it was a little bit difficult at times. And then since it was portrait puzzle, I did go ahead and just flip the picture, the reference poster to the side, and I went ahead and rotated the puzzle as well. And as you can see in this one also, it's like 20 something minutes in and I'm still working on the border, which isn't great. Okay, I really should have had this done by like 10ish minutes, 15 minutes maybe, but it was taking me some time. Then afterwards, I decided to go ahead and just not pick and place quite, but like pick and sort, if that makes sense. So I was kind of making different piles of the different patterns. Like there was the like yellow and orangey kind of striped pieces that were a couple of the pots, like the pots for the plants, yeah. And then there was like the blue of the pants, and then there's like this burgundy for her shirt. And so I was kind of just going based off the piles and doing the best I could, just kind of putting together what I had. And it wasn't too bad at first, especially like the yellow was pretty easy. And then I kind of worked on her face because like her skin tone was a different color. So those were able to be pulled out pretty easily. But then I started working on her shirts, and that was a little bit tricky just because it's like the same pattern over and over again. I gave up on that and went to like her shoe because there's only but so many black and white pieces in the box. And then I started kind of working on her pants as well at one point, which was really tricky. I think because the shirt and the pants, the pattern is so, it's not tiny, but it is smaller than the rest of the patterns. And it was kind of hard to match up the pieces. At this point, we're like 45 minutes in, and I don't have a whole lot done. There was like the little posters on her wall that one is like a quote and the one is some butterflies. Those were also pretty easy to pick out and put together. So those parts are done. But I'm still not making great progress. And again, I wasn't expecting to, beat my personal record or anything like that. But I still was feeling like, well, geez Louise, this is taking some time. So I kept on kind of going back to the box and pulling out pieces of like different patterns just as I saw them. The next thing I think I worked on was at the top left of the picture, which is also, I guess, the top left of the puzzle. I'm sorry, y'all. I started working on, there's like I think it's another poster. It's like a big picture of like some flowers or something. And so I was kind of putting that together. That wasn't too bad. But again, I'm just kind of going through, picking out what I can. I finally got most of her pants together. Most of her shirt is looking okay. But then like as I'm pulling out the like standout pieces, I'm realizing more and more that there's just pink and green left in the box. But like I'm trying not to think about that. I'm just trying to keep going with what I have. I did that like nice banner that's in the background. Not too bad. There also were a few other pots that were like a different pattern. And so I did those. And so now we've officially crossed the hour mark. And I've really done like a third of the puzzle really. So not great. Okay, not going very fast. But the thing is like I was moving fast like in the moment. But it just took so much time to figure out the pieces. It wasn't like a 2 in 2 out cut. Was that like ribbon cut? It wasn't that. It was a grid. Like there were different shaped pieces, but at the same time they were pretty standard. Like they weren't like curves or slants and all that kind of stuff. So the pieces did all kind of fit together. In fact, you can see here I had a lot of false fits, and it's crazy because I didn't really realize it until this point, because I was trying to put in some of like the plant pots or something like that. And I realized that something was not adding up. And then I realized I had to look really, really hard to see that there were false fits, sorry. And so I was getting frustrated, but I was like, okay, like I can keep going. It's not a big deal. So then I started working on the pink, like cheetah print-ish background of the floor. And again, some false fits, but I was kind of working through it. But then I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, there's a lot of pink, there's a lot of green. The pink at least has the spots, but then the green is really just kind of green, to be honest. So I took another break. I'm like, should I keep going? I don't know. At this point, I had worked on the first puzzle for 30 minutes, and then I worked on this puzzle for like an hour and a half. And I only have but so much time in the evenings between my baby's feedings. And also, I was tired. I was like, I don't really want to be here for another hour, 2, 3 hours at this point, especially when there's just so much pink and green and like nothing else really. And sure, there was some patterns that I could have worked with, but then like the brown of the potted plants, like that was just solid color. Like there was no hidden texture or pattern in the background. And I was like, why am I still doing this? I puzzle for fun. This is supposed to be a fun hobby. And I was not having fun. The pieces were too glossy. The pieces they all fit together. There's too many false fits. And I was getting no enjoyment out of this. I wasn't like practicing. I wasn't like gaining anything. I wasn't having fun. It's like, what's the point? As you can see, there's just a bunch of brown and a bunch of pink and green. And I just said, I'm done. So I feel like I'm in a bit of a slump, but I don't want to stay there. I'm trying to just have these past couple weeks be a little bit of, just kind of it is what it is. And I'm going to come back and hopefully we'll get out of this slump soon.